Having 16 authentic emulations of classic Boss pedals right at my feet in a small compact pedal? Yes, please. Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. My name is Kevin Doe here with Equipboard, and today we will be taking a look at this nifty little box. The pedal that I'm holding here is the Boss PX-1 Plugout effects pedal. An apex in authentic hardware modeling, this next generation pedal recreates with stunning precision classic Boss pedals spanning Boss's entire history. The pedal comes preloaded with 8 classic Boss effects, including the OD1 Overdrive, the SP1 Spectrum, the PH1 Phaser, the SG1 Slow Gear, the CS1 Compressor Sustainer, the TW1 TWA, the SD1 Super Overdrive, and the DS1 Distortion. And once you have downloaded and installed the free Boss Effect Loader app onto your smartphone, you have access to another 8 free pedal models, including the CE2 Chorus, the BF2 Flanger, the PN2 Tremolo and Pan, the OC2 Octave, the PS2 Digital Pitch Shifter and Delay, the VB2 Vibrato, the DD2 Digital Delay, and the DF2 Super Feedbacker and Distortion. And going beyond just simply modeling every aspect of each pedal, all of which sound really, really good, the PX-1 adds some extra features to these effects that were previously not available on the original hardware units, such as real-time parameter control via either a foot switch or an expression pedal, mono, stereo, and even wet-dry operations for certain effects, as well as the ability to turn on trails for effects such as delay, meaning that the repeats will continue even if you disengage the pedal. So as you can see, the PX-1 has a very familiar layout that is not too far off from your traditional Boss compact effects pedal. We have 3 knobs, each of which are infinite spinning indented encoder knobs, and each knob also doubles as a push button, allowing you to select menu items, effects parameters, and a whole bunch of other stuff once you dive into setting up the pedal. So on the first side of the pedal, we see stereo inputs, as well as a control jack. This allows you to connect a foot switch that can control effects parameters, and even the internal swap function, allowing you to swap between 2 effects very quickly at the push of a button. This jack can also be used to connect an expression pedal, allowing you to have real-time control over any effect parameter. On the other side, we have stereo outs, and on the back of the pedal, we have the ever ubiquitous 9-volt barrel jack, a USB-C port that is used for firmware updates, and can also power the pedal. This pedal will actually run on USB-C bus power. We also have a MIDI in jack, which allows you to send tempo data directly to the pedal. So if you want to sync up your tremolo or your repeat times on your delay to your rig, you would use it for this. And of course, like every single Boss pedal that I've ever seen, this thing is built to last and will likely survive a nuclear holocaust. We all know these things are rugged, and the PX-1 is no different. In order to fit the hardware needed to make this pedal work, there is no battery clip, unfortunately. So this pedal runs strictly on 9-volt power. Any standard 9-volt plug or power supply that is generally used to power pedals will generally work well with this. And Boss has even included an adapter to power this pedal in the box. So one thing that I do appreciate about this pedal is that it is actually quite easy and intuitive to use. You don't need to have this connected to an app full time to run the pedal or set up the pedal or change any parameters. Everything is done in the box. The Boss Effect Loader app that is generally paired with this pedal is used simply to load and unload pedal algorithms from the PX-1, as well as do firmware updates. The app itself does not control any of the parameters inside the pedal, nor do you need to have it connected all the time for the pedal to function. In fact, when I powered this up the first time, there was no request to pair with an app right away or anything. I had access to the first 8 effects that come preloaded in this pedal right away, and I was able to use them right away. As far as how things are laid out on the pedal to control everything, is actually quite intuitive. You see everything here on the LCD screen, which is nice, bright, and clear. The top 2/3 indicate what the rotary buttons do. So depending if there are 2 knobs or 3 knobs on the pedal, you'll have an indication underneath each knob corresponding to the control that we see here on the face of the pedal. Much like the knobs, the bottom third of the screen lines up with each of the buttons and tells you what the push button function of each knob is. This includes changing menus. It includes switching pages on certain effects. As we know, some boss effects come with 2 knobs, some with 3, some with 4. Any emulations that use 4 knobs, you'll have to switch a page to access that 4th control. But once again, it is laid out in a way that is very easy to follow and is actually very intuitive. So, from the main menu, things get pretty easy. You have a list of all your effects. Simply turn the knob to select the effect you want, press the button to execute, and the effect is now loaded. For an effect such as the VB2, which had 4 knobs, the first 3 knobs of the pedal are laid out on one page. If I want to access the 4th knob, I simply switch pages, and I have access to that control. For any effect, if we continue flipping through the pages, we have access to controller assignments and expression pedal assignments. Each pedal can also have the foot switch control changed. So, what's also fun about this pedal is that the foot switch is not simply an on-off. For certain effects, such as the DD2 and the super feedbacker distortion, holding down the pedal actually activates the hold function. So, for the DD2, you use that micro looping feature. And for the super feedbacker distortion, if you hold it down, that's when the feedback will engage. We can also change the behavior of the foot switch for each effect, making it either a toggle switch to toggle between on and off, or to make it a momentary switch. So let's say you got the BF2 loaded for your band's awesome cover of Ain't Talking About Love, and you want to hit that flanger at just the right spot, rather than stepping on the pedal several times to turn it on and off. You can set it that the effect will engage once you hold down the pedal, turning it on, release the pedal, effect goes off. It'll even do it in reverse, where the effect is on all the time, and if you want the effect to go off momentarily, you can simply hit the pedal, turn off the effect, release the pedal, the effect will turn right back on. So there's been a little bit of talk on the internet ever since this pedal came out regarding the need for a rolling cloud subscription, the purchasing of additional effects down the road. Let's see if we can clarify some of these things. So the first thing that we've sort of seen is that people need a subscription to Roland Cloud to be able to use the pedal. And the answer is no. You do not need a Roland Cloud subscription to use the pedal. When you download the Effect Loader app, it does ask you to register for a free Roland account. This also allows you to register the pedal as you would with any other pedal that you purchased. And like with most other products of this nature, registering for an account with the company is really nothing new. However, there is no additional cost to use this pedal right out of the box. Again, it comes preloaded with 8 effects, and when you download the app, register your account, log in, you have access to 8 more effects, all of which are free. Now, when you buy a PX-1, it does come with a 6-month trial membership to Roland Cloud. You can choose to use it, you can choose to not use it. However, it is a 6-month trial membership to try everything that Roland Cloud has to offer, but it is not a requirement to use the PX-1. Basically, everything involved with Roland Cloud and everything involved with the PX-1 are 2 separate things. Now, the login that you use for Roland Cloud is the same as the regular Roland account, so that's probably where some of the confusion has stemmed from, but that's basically where it stops. Now, the other bit of confusion seems to revolve around loading additional algorithms into the pedal. Starting in 2026, Boss will be making additional pedal algorithms available for the PX-1 through the Effect Loader app. There will be a demo mode available to try out these algorithms onto your pedal, allowing you 30 seconds of uninterrupted rock awesomeness, followed by a couple of seconds of silence, wash, rinse, repeat. If you happen to like the effect, you'll be able to purchase a model pass for that particular effect for $10. Technically, it is a license to use that effect on your pedal. However, it is simply a one-time fee and grants you access in perpetuity to that particular effect algorithm to load onto your PX-1. The Model Pass is not another subscription. It is a one-time purchase, and it's yours to use. Now, what I really like about this pedal is that it is a good Swiss Army knife pedal. You have several different distortion, overdrive, modulation effects, space effects, allowing you to maybe plug a small effect-sized hole in your rig when you need it. So, if you have limited space on your pedal board, and let's say you need a tremolo for one song, and maybe a flanger for another song, this pedal will definitely serve you well. On top of that, Boss has really meticulously recreated these pedals in the digital domain for use on the PX-1. The effects themselves sound really, really good, and they even went as far as modeling every little aspect of each pedal, whether it's the hold function or even the bypass mode on the VB2 Vibrato. If you switch between the two, like you see in our demo video of the same pedal here on our channel, both of them have their own slightly different tonal characteristic, something that has been modeled in the algorithm available on the PX-1. Really cool. Changing how the stomper acts, adding real-time control, and even modern touches like effects trails on certain effects really makes this a truly modern version of a lot of these Boss effects. Now, you can only store 16 different pedal algorithms in the pedal. There are other pedals similar to this that offer much more. But for me, there is an advantage to this. Because you have just a small number of options, means that you are not cycling through 5, 6, 10, 12, 20 variations of a different effect in order to find one. You do not have 20 different models of delay in this pedal. You have one, which is the DD2, great sounding delay. You do not have 10 flavors of overdrive on this pedal. You have two, the OD1 and the SD1, both of which sound fantastic. So if you're susceptible to option paralysis, this pedal might help you out. Now, considering that if you're going to put this on a pedal board, because it has everything from overdrive, distortion, modulation, delay, depending on where you like to put certain effects on your pedal board, you might have a bit of a challenge determining where to put this on your board. However, if you do make some decisions saying that I'm going to use this strictly for the modulation effects, and I like my modulation after the drive pedals, well, you would put this after your drive pedal. If you're more the one who wants to use this for the compressor, the TWA, and the overdrive, maybe you want to put it before your drive section. If you're somebody who uses a switching system that allows you to reorder loops, well, then you can basically put this anywhere on your board and have it move around. Now, some features that I would like to have seen in this pedal would be the option to switch effects via MIDI. Right now, if you want to change effects, you have to dive into the menu, switch over to the effect you want, and load it up. If there are two effects that you want to cycle back and forth, you can do so by attaching a foot switch and cycling through two predetermined effects. Right now, the MIDI in can only receive tempo data. Maybe down the line, via software update, this might be a nice feature that Boss would consider. Another important thing to note is that this pedal does not have presets. Basically, load up the effect, and there you have it. No presets. I will say, however, that one thing that I really like is that any twist of the knob or any change in function for any particular pedal is automatically saved. If you've dialed in the right sound, it is automatically stored into memory. There's no need to hit a save button, and no cursing and swearing if you accidentally switch effects and forgot to save a patch. You set up your phaser sound, turn off the pedal, turn it back on, phaser sound will load with the exact same settings that you left it at. So enough jibber jabber from me. Let's hear how this pedal sounds. I will be going through all of the effect algorithms, doing a quick short demo of each, so you get an idea of how each one sounds. The guitar I'll be using is my trusty Fender American Telecaster, going straight into the pedal, straight into my Focusrite interface. The amp sounds come courtesy of the THU Slate Edition plugin, with a little room reverb just for a bit of ambience. who is this pedal for? Well, if you're a Boss fanatic and want to have access to classic effects that are no longer available, this is the pedal for you. It does go to say that for $249 US, you have access to about $4,000 worth of new and discontinued Boss effects. Of the 16 that are available, only 5 are still manufactured by Boss. 2 of these being part of the Wazacraft line. Everything else requires a dive into the used market, where prices can go from reasonable to are you kidding me? So, if you want that vintage Boss pedal, but don't want to spend a bunch of money on the used market, this is something to consider. If you're a studio or session player who's looking for a great Swiss Army knife pedal loaded with classic effects that we all know and love, this is definitely a pedal for you. If you're starting off on your pedal journey and want to have access to some great classic sounds that every player knows and that every player has heard, this is a good option. At $249 US, this pedal sort of sits in the middle of the price ranges found in many multi-effect small form factor pedals. However, for $249, you are getting 16 classic Boss pedals at a total cost of about $4,000 US if you combine the new and used market. So there is definitely great value for your money right here. So if you've enjoyed this video, why not give it a like? Do share it with your Boss pedal loving friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you are subscribed or you've just subscribed, be sure to hit that notification bell so that you are notified of new videos the second they become available. We hope you've enjoyed this review and demonstration of the Boss PX-1 Plugout pedal. Once again, for Equipboard, my name is Kevin Doe. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.